So welcome to new video of our series. In this series we are seeing Power BI from start to end, and in last lecture we were up to creating some DAX, that is data analysis expressions. And as if you have watched last video, we are till here calculating total revenue using sum function. That function comes under aggregation, right? This it was very basic, and today we are seeing just calculation of this, let's say, measure or a calculated column in Power BI. So just move to Power BI, and I think as of now you all are familiar with the interface of the Power BI. In right hand side you see data pane, build pane, format pane, copilot, right? And left hand side you will see the report view, table view, and model view. Right, so now our task is to apply the basic knowledge we have gained in DAX. Right, in front end you are going to use the DAX functions, right? So this is the, let's say, front end of the Power BI, and what is the back end, which is exactly that is the Power Query. We call it as a Power Query. And let's go to data pane and start create one measure, and then we'll try to create one another column using our aggregation function, right? Since we are at basic only, we are going to start with the basic functions from today. So these are the different DAX the measures created, and anyway, right, let's start from scratch. Go and find sales data. In the sales data, I'm in the report view. In report view I've clicked in the data pane, and in that I'm going any of the table. Okay, so at start you will fill some table you want. Later on you can move that measure you have created to a destination place wherever you want. Click on these three dots, more options, and we have talked about it already, creating new measure and creating new column. So let's start with creating some measure. I have clicked on the I clicked on the new measure. Now the some interface will open here to create new measure, right? It is loading, bear with me. But here you will find some formula bar. In that formula bar, in that formula bar you have to write that function, that is the DAX we have seen in last lecture. What was that? ये थोड़ा लोड हो रहा है. Let me try and switch the tab. ये दिखाता हूँ, तब तक आपको पावर पे लोड हो जाएगा. ओके, जो हमने देखा है लास्ट लेक्चर में, विच इज क्रिएटिंग total revenue, right? Total revenue, this was the calculated column, and this was the measure. This was the syntax. Use a sum function. In sum function you can go and give any column name, so the calculation will happen on that column based on the function. Suppose the revenue column is containing the some amount, like this one. This is the revenue column, and here 9,000, 16,000, 15,000, these are the amount in this column. So the function will calculate the total sum, which will be created as a measure, since we have started creating a measure. If initially if you would have choose the create a column, then आपको वहाँ पे column add हो जाता राइट में. देखो ये फार्मूला बार ओपन हुआ है. You can expand it and just start. Let's say total revenue, और यहाँ पे मैं एक नेम देता हूँ, क्योंकि there is already one measure created by total revenue, so I'm giving it a 2. Since you want to create a measure, you can use a sum function. You can directly start writing that sum function. It is not case sensitive. You can choose, you can type sum in caps and lower will be default to a upper case. That is very simple. हमें यहाँ पे एक सिंटैक्स भी शो कर रहा है पावर बी आई कि सम के अंदर वी नीड वन कॉलम. बट कॉलम का सिंटेक्स हमें पता है. कॉलम अगर लेना है तो हमें फर्स्टली वी हैव टू गो टू टेबल. आफ्टर दैट वी हैव टू चूज अ कॉलम. अगर आपको डायरेक्टली पता है आपका कॉलम तो यू कैन डायरेक्टली चूज दैट कॉलम, राइट. सो सेल्स टेबल में वी हैव समथिंग सेल्स डेटा में. सो लेट्स गो एंड select table first, and now you see all the columns related to that table, right. So if you find some revenue, yes, there is one revenue column option available there. So you can click on it, or you can hit enter. You will select it, close this tab, and now if you hit enter, the measure will be created. Right. I'll just close this bar now. Okay. I've closed this. You can close this here. Click here. You can close that bar. Now you see यहाँ पे total revenue generate हो गया है. Total revenue 2. If you don't find it, there it is. You can type it total revenue 2. So you'll find it is in the sales data table, right? And you see there is some sign change in front of this total revenue, which looks like a calculator. So it indicates this is the measure, and the sales data indicate it is the table, right. Now you go to table view and locate your sales data table. Click on the sales data table, go and find your revenue, total revenue 2. But now if you see the column, the last column, because when you create a calculated column or insert any data in the column, so any column, that column will be default position will be last position. So drag to the most right and see if there is any column added as a total revenue. So if you see here, there is no column named as a total revenue, since it is not the column, right. Total revenue is the measure you have created. The symbol represents that it is the measure. So if you see that total revenue, it is not showing here because this is the revenue. That is the difference. When you create a measure, it will not reside in your table. It will hold just calculations, right. And similarly, let's try click on the three dots of any column and try to create new column, right. Now when you create total revenue, let's say column, now it will be added total revenue. Just sake of identity, we just give it we'll name it as a column, total revenue column. Okay, equal to, I'm using same function again using sales data. I know the data is residing in this table, and after that I have that revenue table. I'm going to enter here, and when I click here, then you will see now at rightmost position there is a column added here, right. But if you notice the value in this column, which is 24914584586, this value throughout the column in each row is the same value. So what is this, happening, why does this happen? It is happening because when you create a calculated column, it will have the row by row operation. It is not like measure will have the calculation and create one value, but your calculated column will create this 2491456, this total of the revenue column, but it will show you against each row, right. This is the main difference between calculated column and measure. So keep in mind that whenever you create a column using DAX, it will have the row by row operations. Based on the row context, it will create the result. That is the big difference between measure and calculated column. I think this was it for today's video. We'll see next in the next part.